Hello. I hope it's recording. Last time it cut off my recording while I was in the middle of saying something, so let's see. I hope I'm in frame. It's propped up on boxes right now. So today, here, hi again, it's me, Daniel, Dan the human being, and today I wanted to talk about autism. If you couldn't tell, it's warm in here. You couldn't tell about me, I have autism. I don't know, I only have 2 other videos, and I don't know if anybody ever watched any of them, and if anybody ever does watch any of them. And I move my hands around a lot, and I twitch, and I seem like I'm, not twitch, but I seem like I'm a little bit nervous, anxious, or whatever. Excuse me, cough. And, well, that's not because, I don't know if that's, because of autism, but yeah, I have autism. And today I kind of wanted to talk about autism and the misconceptions and assumptions about autism that people make. The wrong ones, the wrong and the stereotypes about autism that people have as well. First and foremost, it isn't a disease. As much as people say it's a disease, like cancer and stuff, it isn't. It's a different wiring of the brain. And people say, well, it's a disorder as well. It could be considered that, but it's not really, in my opinion. It's more of just like, like I said, it's our brains are just wired differently. People with autism. So, yes. Another thing is, it does not need to be cured. There doesn't need to be a cure for autism. I don't care what you fucking think. I don't care what you fucking believe in your head that, that needs to be cured, blah, blah, blah. Autistic people are fucking whatever. There needs to be a cure. No, it doesn't. It's fine. Having autism isn't having a disease. It does not need to be cured, and the whole Autism Speaks organization trying for a cure for autism is bullshit. And that's all it really is. Bullshit. Another thing is, it's not the same as being mentally handicapped. The R word that I'm not going to use because it's not politically correct anymore, but yeah, it's not the same as that. People consider it the same as that just because there's been cases where people have had autism and had a more serious mental disorder, or mental handicap, and had autism at the same time, and people automatically assume they're the same thing, or it comes with the same thing. In reality, it really doesn't. It's a disorder at most, and even though I don't really think it is myself, that's all it really is. It's a different wiring of the brain. Also, it doesn't mean you're dumb. Having autism doesn't mean you're dumb or unintelligent or not smart or stupid or anything like that. It doesn't mean you're less intelligent of a person or anything. You can be as smart as you want and as dumb as you want with autism. That's really it is. And that goes with my next thing. It doesn't mean you're any smarter than anybody else in the world. Having autism doesn't make you automatically a savant. It does happen. There is autistic savants out there. But it's not always the case with every person with autism. Another thing is, autism doesn't always come with a physical symptom, physical disability. It doesn't. It doesn't come with a physical disability. It can cause certain physical disabilities, depending on the brain wiring and whatever. But in reality, it doesn't always come with a physical disability. I walk around, I talk, I don't have a physical disability. I don't have any problems with my arms, or, I don't have any kind of thing that prevents me from moving around like a normal human being. I just have a different brain, and that's really all it is. It can affect your physical health and physical disability and whatnot, but or physical, well-being. But it's not always, it doesn't always cause one. It doesn't always have one with it. Also, having autism doesn't always mean you're better at memorizing shit or counting shit. It doesn't mean you always have to count. You're good at counting, you're good at math or whatever. You're good at memorizing certain events and whatever. It doesn't always mean you have a good memory and a photographic memory or whatever that other word is. People assume this with the portrayal in the media of what autism is, and the whole, thing with Sheldon from the fucking Big Bang Theory, because people assume that he has it because he acts different and blah blah blah. And he might have a little bit of it, but that's another thing. It's because he has I think it's photogenic or something like that, or photo something. I don't know what it's called, but a good memory, an excellent, like a perfect memory. And it's not always the case. It varies between people. Everybody's different. That goes. My next thing is autism. Everyone with autism is different. No one with autism is the same as someone else. Everyone is different, just like with everybody else in the world. No one is exactly the same as someone else. There's always something that makes them different than the other person, whether it's a small thing or a big thing, whatever it is, physical, mental, emotional, etc. Everybody with autism isn't the same. This also goes with the next assumption. Having or autism doesn't always have a certain look. People assume autism with being fat, because I'm fat too. And people also assume autism with having a childlike face, which I obviously don't. Unless I do, I don't really know. But people always also assume autism with unhygienic people and people who don't take care of themselves and whatever. That's not always the case either. People with neck beards, they're assumed with autism as well. That's not always the case. I know I have one, but it's just a coincidence, really. Another thing is people with autism, or having autism, doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't make you less of a human being or less of a person. Having autism is a good thing in my opinion. It doesn't make you any less of a person or any bad. It doesn't make you a bad poor person or a horrible person. And another point I want to make with this: it also doesn't make you more violent. People in the media always say that autism is linked to violence, whatever, because of the school shooting and bullshit. Because a lot of people there's some people that had autism that committed school shootings. It's just a coincidence. People are using coincidence in the fact that somebody just happened to have autism and committed a fucking act of violence, and they assume that it was because of that. It's not the case. Autism does not make you a bad person, doesn't make you a violent person, doesn't make you less of a human being. It's just a different wiring of the brain, and it's nothing bad or horrible or anything like that. Another thing is, it also, they need to stop comparing, they need to say that people with autism, or kids with autism especially, are just brats and they just throw tantrums and they just have meltdowns and shit all the time. In reality, they need to address the goddamn fucking issue that it's not. They need to make it more serious. You know what I mean. They need to not dumb it down to just being bratty or just being spoiled or just not listening and not reacting properly. They need to realize that it is mostly caused by, autism. The whole meltdowns and whatever, it happens with autism. Trust me, I know. I had some in my younger years, and way before I even knew I had autism. And I guess a lot of people just assumed I was just throwing a tantrum or whatever, and they didn't say anything more about it. And another thing that has to do with this is the fact that people with autism are considered rude because they don't listen, they don't respond, they don't want to talk. They don't want to talk when someone talks to them sometimes, because it does happen. People with autism. And that's not always the case. People with autism sometimes live in their own goddamn head. And that's a thing. And it happens with people without autism as well. But people with autism do it a lot more. They live in their head more. They're inside their own mind. They worry. They're focused on whatever they're doing and whatever they like. It's not always the thing. It's not because they're rude. It's not because they are antisocial or whatever. Sometimes it's just, it makes them personally, they put themselves in a personal little, what is that word? Bubble. Yeah, personal little bubble, a personal little comfort bubble, and they don't want to break out of it. They don't want to make something. They don't want to experience. But they don't want to, break out of the bubble and make them uncomfortable. They want to be comfortable. They want to be content, and happy. And sometimes, it's hard for them to break out of their bubble, and it happens. But so they're not rude. It's just they just, I would say they don't know better, but no, that's not really the case. It's just they want, they want to keep the comfortableness up. They don't want to break out of their little bubble. They don't want to break out of their wall. They want to be happy. They know what makes them happy, and they want to keep it up. They don't want to do stuff that they're not going to enjoy. And sometimes they can't help it. Sometimes they just do it naturally, and it just happens. It's not being rude. It's not being uncaring or antisocial or whatever. And people always assume it as being socially awkward, but in reality, it's not. And also that goes with another thing. People with autism aren't always socially awkward. They're not always antisocial. They're not always, in their bubble.